Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Nidai Gauranga, Jaya Nidai Gauranga, Nidai Gauranga, Jaya Nidai Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, and chapter 27. This is the last verse of this chapter. So please repeat after me. Brahmano hi pratisthaham amratasya avyavasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya kantikasya cha. Brahmano hi pratisthaham amratasya avyavasya cha Sasvadasya cha dharmasya sukhasya kantikasya cha. We'll chant one more last time. Brahmano hi pratisthaham amratasya avyayasya cha shashvadasya cha dharmasya sukhasya kantikasya cha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada. Translation. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness and which is immortal, imperishable and eternal. Please repeat the translation after me. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness and which is immortal, imperishable and eternal. So it's a little long purport. So probably we can start our discussion here and then we'll discuss all those points from what is given in the purport. So this chapter, the 14th chapter, which we are reading now, this is the last verse. So this chapter talks about the three modes of material nature, and those who have been attending, you might have got some sense of what are the three modes. And now toward the end, Krishna basically concludes the whole chapter saying that ultimately bhakti is the process, the devotional service is the process. And then now in the last verse, Krishna is saying why one who is in full devotional service. Krishna talks about the Brahman also. What is this Brahman realization? So just to give you the context, there's a various school of thoughts about the absolute truth. Somebody thinks God, the absolute truth, is a person, and then some other set of people, they think no, God is not a person, God is just a Brahman. Brahman means some effulgence, some light. So these are two major different understanding, right? So Krishna here is talking about the impersonal Brahman. And many times people get confused by this verse. That Krishna is saying, I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So they conclude by saying that ultimately the conclusion of the understanding is that ultimate happiness is Brahman. But that is not the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. How do we understand that? So I'll just read a little bit from the purport and then we'll start our discussion. So Prabhupada writes here, the constitution of Brahman is immortality, imperishability, eternity and happiness. Brahman is the beginning of transcendental realization. Now this is a very important point to take the note of. Many times people conclude that Brahman is the ultimate reality, but Prabhupada is clarifying here in the purport, explaining that Brahman is the beginning of transcendental realization. This is very important. So this has been explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam that absolute truth can be realized on 3 different levels. Like when we talk about what is the Param Satya. So there are 3 different levels. It says, Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabdayate. So there are 3 levels has been explained. So the first and the lowest level of understanding the supreme truth is Brahman level. That is the first level, that where the understanding is that ultimate reality is some Brahman, some light, some energy. And many times you might have come across this concept that ultimately we go and merge into that Brahman. You go and merge into that light, that effulgence, and you become one with that light. You become like God or you merge into God. That kind of understanding. But that is the first and the lowest level. And then it says Paramatma, the super soul, is the middle. The second stage in transcendental realization. So there is a next level and that level is called Paramatma. So Brahman, next is Paramatma. Brahman means you think that ultimate reality is just a light, some energy. And we also go and merge into that energy. But then Bhagavatam explains, no, that is a very initial level. Next, when you gradually advance spiritually, then you come to the level of Paramatma. Now what is this Paramatma? So Paramatma is the expansion of the Supreme Lord, which has expanded into each and every atom of this entire creation. Brahman andantarastha paramanu chayantarastham. So what is this Paramatma? The expansion of the Lord, which has entered into each and every living entity and including each and every atom. So we say that Lord is sitting in our heart. Many times we talk like this. Right? So what is that God who is sitting in our heart? That is the Paramatma form of the Lord. So this is the expansion of the Lord who expands in the Paramatma form and enters into each and every living entity. And not only this each and every living entity, but each and every atom. And that is Paramatma feature. So when you spiritually advance a little more, then you come to that understanding that God is not some light or some energy or something like that, but God is sitting in my heart as Paramatma. So there is one class of people, they focus on realizing the God in their heart as Paramatma form. But that is also not the highest platform. And the third level is explained. The second stage and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate realization of the absolute truth. Therefore, both Paramatma and the impersonal Brahman are within the Supreme Person. It is explained in the 7th chapter that material nature is the manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord impregnates the inferior material nature with the fragment of the superior nature, and that is the spiritual touch in the material nature. So from this we understand there are 3 levels of realizing the absolute truth: Brahman, Paramatma, and the topmost and the highest is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we call Bhagavan realization. So understanding that God is not just some light or some energy. God is not only just limited to sitting in our heart, but God is a person. Supreme Person, Param Purusha, transcendental personality, who has the power to reciprocate parallelly with each and every living entity. That is God. So that is the understanding of God. So here this verse is saying that I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. Who's that I am? Krishna is saying, when people say that there is something called impersonal Brahman, some light, I am the basis. What is that light? Many times people will say, oh, there is some light. What is that light? From where it is coming? So that has been explained in the Brahma Samhita. So as Krishna is saying here, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Where it is Brahmana means this Brahma Jyoti. Where it is Pratishta means situated. From where this Jyoti, this light is coming from. So it is explained by Brahmaji in the Brahma Samhita. He says these words, Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadand koti. Kotishu ashesha vasudhati vibhuti vinnam. Tad brahma nishkalamanantam ashesha bhutam. Govindam adi purusham tam aham bhajami. So this is the quotation by Brahmaji, who is the creator of this entire universe. And he is saying, Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadand koti. You see in this creation, there is jagadand koti. Koti means like millions, crores of jagadand. Like we call it Brahmand. The similar word for Brahmand is jagadand. Jagad means this entire universe, which is like the shape of egg, anda. And we call it Brahmand also. So like that, there are millions of such Jagadanda Koti, millions of such Brahmandas. They're floating into that effulgence, that light. Yasya Prabha Prabhato Jagadanda Koti. They're all floating into that energy, that Brahma Jyoti. But from where this is coming, this light is coming, Govinda Mahadi Purusham. It is emanating, that light is emanating from the Supreme Lord. So when we read Bhagavad Gita, we understand this light is not independent, this energy, this effulgence. It is actually the bodily effulgence of the Supreme Lord. So from the Lord, this light is coming, and many people, they understand that light is the only final destination. Because that light is so effulgent, it is so bright, that people can't see there's someone behind that light. When sometimes, it is too much of light, you become blind. Right? Sometimes you drive on the road and light falls directly into your eyes. For a moment we get blinded. So similarly, that light, the bodily effulgence, it makes the person blind. So there is certain qualification is needed to understand there is someone behind that light also. So Brahmano hi pratishtaham. So one should not conclude that ultimate reality is that light only. But there is a person behind that light. And that is the highest realization of the absolute truth. That God is a person, is a transcendental personality, and we are all designed to take pleasure in association, in relationship with that Supreme Lord. That is what is our constitutional position for the living entity. And the scriptures explains that we all, the living entity, the soul, or constitutionally we are designed to experience the happiness. Anandamayo abhyasat. This is our nature. That we always look for, whatever we do, you look for happiness. Right? But this happiness has also been explained in the scriptures at different levels. Technically they're called Jadanand. Jadanand means the happiness of this material world. The second level is called Brahmanand. And the highest level of this happiness is called Premanand. Now we'll understand a little bit about these three different levels of happiness. What is this Jadanand? Jada means something which is dull matter. So they're called Jad and Chetan. Jad means dull, and then Chetan means something which is conscious. So all this table and this mic or anything like that, these are all Jad. They're not conscious. So in this material world, the happiness in this material world is described as Jadanand. That you are trying to take some pleasure out of the dull matter. Does it give you happiness? It gives you illusory happiness. You feel like happiness is there, but that is not the real happiness. It's illusory happiness. And that happiness has been described by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. 5th chapter, he says, the nature of this Jadanand is ये ही संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुख योनय एवदे आदि अंतवंतु कौन्तेय na teshu ramte buddha. So what is the nature of this happiness, this Jadanand, which every one of us in this world, we are running after this happiness. But the nature of this happiness is, it says, dukkha yonaya evate. This is the dukkha yoni, right? Like a woman who is pregnant, she walks in, then there is child is already inside. So this happiness, it is impregnated by the dukkha. This, if you consider this happiness of this Jadanand, we are talking like a woman, she is a pregnant woman who is also carrying something inside. And what it is carrying? Dukkha. So Krishna is saying the nature of this happiness in this material world, this Jadanand, it is dukkha yonaya evate. Reason also explained why it will result in dukkha. You are thinking it is happiness, but actually it is carrying the miseries. Two reasons has been explained. Says Adi Antvantu Kaunteya. So nature of this happiness in this world, Jadanand is, it has the beginning, Adi, and then Anta. Ant means the nature of anything in this material world, Krishna already described. That everything is ashashvatam. Everything is temporary in this world. So something that you get and then you derive a lot of pleasure. And you may feel like, oh no, I'm feeling good about that. I'm so happy about that. But you should also know the nature of that is temporary. So it is Adi and Anta. So soon it begins and in no time it will end. And then it will make you miserable. Right? So we try to derive a lot of pleasure in this world from these things or from the people of this world. Right? Next level. It is not very gross like about the things, but people say, no, we should have some good relations. You should be nice, which is great to have. There's nothing wrong in having the good relations and being nice to everyone and all of that. But that doesn't make a person actually happy. There's no real happiness. That happiness is also, it is better happiness than completely gross happiness like from the things. It is better to have some happiness from the people, but that is also by nature temporary. Because people, there's invariably what happens, there is expectations. When you get into any relation with anyone, naturally there is expectations. And then everyone try to, meet the expectations. But also we should understand, we are all limited. I can expect so many things from the person. But then person has the limitation to to meet all my expectations. And if I don't understand, and if I have no other source of happiness, then I will be forced to invariably derive the happiness from that person or that relation. But that person is not capable of, meeting my expectation. Then that will result in frustration or miseries again. So yes, it is good to have the good relations, cordial, understanding and all of that. But overly dependent on the people around for your happiness, that is not what is recommended in the scriptures. This is Jadanand. Happiness of this world is like that. Too much if you run after that, it will be like, in a desert, you see the mirage. So actually there is no water, it's illusory water. So somebody, chase the mirage to get some water, you will never get that. So this Jadanand is like that. You think this will give me happiness, that will give happiness. If I get a big house, big money, big job, something like that, which is, it can give you comforts, but not real happiness. This is the nature. More you try to chase, more it will run away. That is the nature of this Jadananda. So one should not become too much dependent on this. There's this beautiful verse, which is spoken by one character in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Her name is Pingla. So Pingla speaks this verse. She says, Santam samipe ramanam rati pradam vitta pradam nityam imam vihaya akamadam dukkha bhayadishoka moha pradam tucham aham bhajegya. So this Pingla, she became realized at one point, and then she is remembering that how I wasted my human form of life. She is saying, I'm such a fool that I have given up the service of that person who, being eternally situated within my heart, is actually most dear to me. But I'm such a fool that I've given up the service, my relation. For what? For some temporary happiness. She further says that most dear one is the Lord of the universe, who is the bester of the real love and happiness, and the source of all prosperity. Although he is in my heart, I have completely neglected him. Now Pingla is speaking this. If you carefully read this, you'll understand it looks like it is our statement. Right? We completely neglected the Supreme Lord. Who is the Lord? That he loves us so much that he's constantly 24/7 sitting with you in your heart. Even the most dearest relation of this world cannot accompany you 24/7. But Lord had that loving relationship with all of us that 24/7 he is sitting in our heart constantly. Upadrashta Anumanta. He is constantly witnessing that what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and then he is also the sanctioner. He's saying, okay, you want this? No problem. Do this. Like that. But we have neglected that person. So he says, I've completely neglected him. And then what is the result of neglecting the Supreme Person, the Supreme Lord, the most dear and loving Father? Says, instead I have ignorantly served insignificant men who can never satisfy my real desires and who have simply brought me unhappiness, fear, anxiety, lamentation, and illusion. If we forget Krishna, we turn away from the service of Krishna and we try to serve the people of this world. Now there's nothing wrong in serving the people around the world. But problem is serving the people of this world independent of Krishna. You've forgotten Krishna completely and you think, okay, let me serve my family, my husband, my wife, my kids, my boss in the office and all of that, which is great to have. But you are neglecting Krishna. Then that serving will result in what? She's saying, simply it has brought me unhappiness, fear, anxiety, lamentation, and illusion. That will be the result of forgetting, neglecting Krishna. So that is the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam from the Pingla. That is the nature of this Jadanand. That finding happiness or becoming too dependent on the worldly things and the worldly people for our happiness, then that will result in unhappiness, fear, anxiety, lamentation. There is a similar expression which is given by one of the Acharya. Says, Kamadinam katina katidha palita durnidesha. It's very beautiful way of expressing what is the situation in this material. Says, Kamadinam katina katidha palita durnidesha. That this Kamadinam means these desires, lust, anger, greed, and all these different varieties of desires. It is palita, palna, like I'm carrying all those things. Durnideshaha, tesham jatmai na karuna na trapo na pashanti. So when I'm carrying and I'm maintaining all these desires, kamadinam, then what is the result? Says, it has not shown me na karuna, na trapa, na pashanti. I'm thinking I'm maintaining and they will also give me some happiness because I'm maintaining them. But in result, na karuna, they have not shown me any mercy. Mercy means, oh, I have been nicely taking care of you. Be nice to me. But na karuna, they are not showing any mercy. They are engaging more and more. I'm trying to satisfy those desires. They are demanding more. They are not being kind on me. Na karuna, na trapa. Trapa means no satisfaction. How much ever I'm trying to fulfill all those desires, kamadinam, there's no mercy from them. They're not saying, oh, that's enough, you also take a little rest. No, they're constantly engaging you more and more. You satisfy one desire, they ask more. And you satisfy more, they ask more. That is the nature of this kamadinam, the desires. So, na karuna, na trapa, no shanti. No shanti. I'm not at peace. Constantly I'm working hard to satisfy these desires. They're not showing any mercy on me. They're not satisfying me. That is the nature of that, kamadinam. Then he further says, Usre jayatan at yadupate sampradam labd buddhis tvam ayada sharanam abhayam mam niyungshatma dashe. So he says, by some good fortune, I got some sense. Sampratam labd buddhi. I got some buddhi. What is that buddhi? Says, by the mercy of Yadupate. Yadupate means the Krishna. By Krishna's grace, I got some mercy. And now I pray. What is my prayer? That I've been serving these desires, this calm, since all my life. But now my prayer is Sharanam Abhayam Mam. That my dear Lord, please give me the shelter at your lotus feet. Because that shelter provides Abhayam. Once you take the shelter of Krishna, then there is no bhaya. There is no fear of any. There is no insecurity. And also he is praying, Sharanam Abhayam Mam Niyungsh Atma Dashe. Give me the shelter and Niyungsh, engage me as your Atma Dashe, as your servant. So instead of serving all my desires, this lust, anger, greed, jealousy and all that, which has not shown me na karuna, na trapo, no pashanti, no mercy, no satisfaction, no peace. Now finally by the grace of the Lord I got some good sense. Now my prayer is that Lord, please give me the shelter and also you engage me in the service of your lotus feet. If we don't engage in the service of Krishna, invariably we will be forced to engage in the service of Maya. All these worldly desires. And we try to derive a lot of pleasure out of that. But then the nature of this is na karuna, na trapa, no pashanti. So that is the nature of this Jada Ananda. There's another very beautiful expression in the 9th canto. Says, what is the nature of these materialistic desires? And one analogy is given here. We all can relate with this analogy. Says, na jatu kam kamanam upbhogena shammati. Habisha Krishna vartmeva bhuya eva vivardate. Says, na jatu kam kamanam. Jatu means at any time, this kama, these desires, and whose desires? The kamanam, the person who has a lot of desires. So those desires, what is happening? It says, analogy is given, Habisha Krishna Vartmeva. When somebody puts the butter into the fire, with the idea that by putting the butter, I'll satisfy the fire. Right? But what is the nature? It says, Bhuya Eva Vivardate. You are thinking by putting the butter in the fire will be satisfied, but the result is other way around. Eva Vivardate. It keep increasing. So you put little butter, it will become big fire, it will ask more butter. Put more. So that is the nature of Jadu Kam Kamanam Upabhogena Shamyati. Shamyati means that it has not pacified me any time. I try to satisfy little desires, it asks more. And all of us, we have the first hand experience of this. Like in the childhood, we desire some toys. Some toy, one toy, in few days you get bored. Then you want bigger toy. Then now we are all grown up, we are no more kids. Still we are playing with the toys. Our toys have changed. Earlier we are playing with a toy car, now real car. They're all toys only. Right? We are thinking this is giving me pleasure. It's not giving us pleasure. It will be keep increasing. You get first car, then you want next car, upgraded version, then Tesla, then something. There's no end to all those things. So this is the nature of this Jadananda. So one intelligent person should never get trapped into all this Jadananda. How much ever you try, at the end of the day, there is na karuna, na trapa, no pashanti. No satisfaction, no peace of mind, and you will be tirelessly working for satisfying those desires. And it will keep increasing. Eva Vivardate. That is the nature of Jadananda. Second level of happiness has been, so this is like completely worldly thing, material thing. Now there are people, those who be completely spiritually inclined, they start to practice, they understand. They say, oh no, this is all, worldly things. It doesn't really satisfy me. I should be spiritual. And I should drive some spiritual happiness along with some material facilities. So let me just go for something. I don't want all these worldly things. Little elevated. Now they come to the level of this Brahmananda. Brahmananda, which is being discussed in today's verse. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Krishna is saying this Brahman is situated on me. I am the source. I am the foundation of this Brahman. So this is another kind of happiness. Whereas, what is this Brahmananda? I'll give you some examples too, for you to understand. What is this Brahmananda? Brahmananda is like that. It is definitely a spiritual elevation, wherein you are not, working hard for some material happiness, but you come to the spiritual platform. You are already on a spiritual platform at the Brahmananda. But this spiritual happiness is like say a person who is sick and admitted to the hospital. In the hospital, while he's going through the treatment, he has to take some bitter pills, and they poke you with some needles and all of that. It's a very painful experience. So the person is desiring, oh my God, when I'll come out from this, painful experience. And finally, one day you develop some immunity and all that, you get a little better. They say, now you're free to go out of the hospital. And you feel so relieved because that pain is not there. That experience of that constant pain is already reduced. So this pain is this worldly happiness. Dukkha yone evade. What you're thinking is happiness is actually all this poking from all the sides. Then you understand and you get released from that pain and you say, okay, now move out from the hospital. And you feel relieved and you feel happy. Oh, now I'm relieved. No bitter pills, no injections, no the thing like that. You feel happy. But how long you will feel happy like that? Point is, when you come out of the hospital, you definitely feel relieved. But you're simply just roaming outside the hospital. There is a happiness because happiness of getting relief from the pain. But still there's no real happiness. Real happiness comes only when you come out of the hospital, you go home. And then there are people there. Your family member, those who loves you, and then you go and spend some time loving exchanges, and all of that. Then only you experience the happiness. But you just come out from the hospital and you just keep roaming in the street. You might feel a little good, but then you'll get bored after a while. You'll be lost somewhere. You'll say, what is this? How long I'll be keep roaming? This is what exactly is the Brahman, the Brahmananda, the happiness in the Brahman platform, wherein you get spiritually elevated from the worldly platform. You understand I am not the body, I am the soul. So you are not driving any pleasure on the bodily platform. Say, okay, soul. Soul is eternal. That is what this verse is saying. We are reading here. Amratasya, avyayasya cha. Amratasya means it is eternal. So you understand I am eternal. So there is no fear. Why there is a fear in this world? Because of temporary nature of the things in this world. Today you have something, tomorrow you may not have. Today you have the job, tomorrow you may lose the job. The nature of the world is like that. Some relation is there, tomorrow there might be some disruption in the relation. The person is there, tomorrow that person can leave. So there is a constant anxiety and fear because of the nature of this temporary nature of this world. But this Brahman platform, it is eternity is experienced already. You understand I am eternal, I am not temporary. Nothing is going to happen to me because I am not this body, I am the soul. But that doesn't give you the real happiness. Simply just saying I am the soul, I am the soul. So this is called technically Aham Brahmasmi. That you realized I am Brahman. I am not this body. I am not made of this matter which is temporary. I am made of the spirit which is permanent. I am Brahman. But that gives you some happiness, some satisfaction. Okay, I am secure. I am feeling a little secure. But there's no true happiness is experienced. You will get bored. How long you will be keep saying I am Brahman, I am Brahman, I am Brahman? Right? It is boring. So there is happiness, this is Brahmananda. It is better than that Jadananda. Brahmananda is next level. But that is also not the true happiness. This real happiness is next level. This Brahmananda is like that. Another example I can think of. Say you're driving on the road. There's a lot of traffic jam. Every now and then you keep pushing the brakes and then again and all that. You get bored, like 2 hours you're driving. You say, oh, this is too much. I wish that I can fly. Right? And all that time I should be in the fly. I should not sit in the car only. Just hypothetical situation, not practical. And say somebody comes and give you the bending. Okay, anytime you travel, you should be better you be just in the air only. So you go in the air and you feel, so now I'm like so much up. There's no mess with all this traffic jam and all of that. And when you're flying in the air, there's a happiness of that. But after a while, you start getting bored. You are in the air. Nobody is there to relate with. You're just simply just flying. You're going smoothly, but still there is a bored. You get boring. Right? So this is Brahmananda. So that is why the scriptures, and the Acharya, they explains, one should not aspire for this kind of happiness also. Of course, you understand Jadananda, this worldly happiness is bogus, but this Brahmananda is also in one sense bogus. It is better than that, but that is not the highest. What is this highest? Actually, and that Brahmananda also, there's a lot of examples are given in the scriptures. We see the example of the four Kumaras, the four sons of Brahmaji. When they were born as a Brahman realized personalities. They were so elevated, they already knew that we are not the body, we are the soul. They are on the Brahman platform. And they are freely roaming, moving and all of that. But at one point in time, what happens? When they were traveling, and they were so powerful that they could travel even to the Vaikuntha, outside the Vaikuntha, not inside. But they could travel all around. That was their power. Four sons of Brahmaji, Kumaras. So one time when they were crossing that, then they smelled the fragrance of tulsi leaves, which is smeared with the chandan paste, the sandal paste, which is applied to the Supreme Lord. So as soon as that fragrance of the tulsi leaves coming from the lotus feet of the Lord entered into their nostrils, their whole conception about this Brahman changed. They realized that this Brahman is not the ultimate thing, there is something beyond. Just by this fragrance of the tulsi. So this expression comes in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which says, Tashar Vindanana Shacharanar Vindam Kinjal Kamishra Tulasi Makaranda Vayu. So this four Kumaras, Padar Vindam, the lotus feet of the Lord, then Kinjal Kamishra Tulasi Makaranda Vayu. Tulsi, which is mixed with sandal paste and the saffron, and then through the Vayu, through the air, it was carrying the aroma. And then Anta Gataswa Vivarena Chakaratesham. As soon as that fragrance that entered Antargatena, inside it went, then what happens? Sankshovam Akshara Jusham Apichitta Tanvoho. They immediately change their conception. Before that, they are thinking that ultimate reality is Brahman. But just by smelling the fragrance of tulsi leaves, they became the devotee. They understood, no, it should be the person. So that is what is the ultimate happiness. Even another example of this Brahman is Shukdev Goswami. Shukdev Goswami was born as a Brahman realized person, and he was so elevated as soon as he comes out from the womb of the mother. He walked out. He was completely renounced. He was realized soul. And then he was roaming in the forest. And one time he came across one person who was in the forest, woodcutter who was cutting the trees with the axe. And he was singing and chanting something which caught his attention. He got so fascinated by some chanting, and the chanting was, he was wondering, like, what is this so sweet chanting? He goes to this person and says, what are you singing? Because he was very advanced person, he could understand that what he's singing. He says, you are singing, you are talking, this chanting these verses, you are talking about some person. Who is this person? I am so fascinated about this person. He was a Brahman realized soul, but just by hearing some chanting and he could understand the meaning, he immediately got fascinated about that person. Now who was that person? He goes to this woodcutter. He says, can you explain? And he said, no, I cannot explain much. Better you go to my guru. And I am just singing one or two. There are many more such verses. Then he takes him to his guru. And who was his guru? Vyasadeva. So he takes him to Vyasadeva. And actually Vyasadeva, the father of Shukdev Goswami, says, he is my father only. And that is when Vyasadeva narrated the Srimad Bhagavatam to Shukdev Goswami. And by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, the Shukdev Goswami, who was an impersonalist. Impersonalist means who doesn't believe in the personality of the God. They think God is impersonal. God is light. God is some energy. And by hearing this narration from the Srimad Bhagavatam, his conception changed to that God is a person. So what was that verse? One of the verse was this. So he was singing, Aho bakiyam stan kalakutam jigam siapad apyabisadbhi lebe gatim dhatri uchitam tato anyam kamva dayalum sharanam rajamya. So he was singing this verse. Meaning is, he was talking about one of the incident in the Bhagavatam which Krishna did. What he did, what Krishna did, says, Aho bakiyam stan kalakutam. Baki. Baki is a demoness. Baki is the sister of Bakasur. So in Vrindavan, a lot of demons used to come and attack on Krishna. So Baki was the first demon. Baki is basically the Putna. So Putna, how she came? Aho Bakiyam Stan Kalakutam. She applied the poison. Kal Kutam means the poison. Very, very strong poison on stan, on her breast. And she wanted to feed Krishna. So her intention was to kill Krishna. But she came in the garb of a mother. Though she was a demon. Intentions was something else. But she was imposing herself as, pretending herself to be mother. But Krishna is so kind that he did not saw the negative side of it. Krishna saw only she came as a mother, so I should also treat her as a mother. So he says, Kam va dayalum sharanam rajema. Who can be more merciful than that person who gave the position of a mother to the person who came to kill? So that is the nature of the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So when the Shukdev Goswami heard this verse, he got fascinated. Say, who is this person? And then he understood about the Bhagavatam and the Krishna. So this Brahmananda, Prabhupada explains in the purport, in today's purport. He says, this Brahmananda is not the eternal platform. One can fall down from there. It is just like you go in the airplane, but you have to land again. Either you keep going up, otherwise you will come down. You cannot be there, situated. So similarly, if somebody attains that platform of Brahmananda, then he cannot be situated permanently there. Either he should upgrade himself to the next level, which is called Premananda or Bhaktya Ananda, the pleasure of bhakti, pleasure of devotional service, and that is considered as the topmost pleasure. Right. So this Brahman is not the real happiness. The real happiness is the happiness of being situated in the devotional service. And Prabhupada in today's purport, Prabhupada explains how one can practice this devotional service. It is very, very simple. And that is what we learn here in Krishna consciousness. That devotional services can be started by simply chanting the holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So when somebody starts to chant this mantra, in the due course, you will start experiencing some pleasure. And that pleasure cannot match with any of those pleasures, Jadananda or Brahmananda. And Prabhupada mentions many, many items, chanting of Hare Krishna mantra, and then offering the food, and then honoring the Krishna Prasadam, going and having the darshan, participating in the kirtan, listening to the discourses about Krishna, Krishna's beautiful pastimes, and all of that, and like fasting on some special days. So all this austerity, that will result in the actual happiness. And that happiness is called the Bhaktya Ananda or Premananda. So that is what is some of the thoughts on this verse. So this verse is saying Brahmano hi pratistaham. And then, so he's saying that this Brahman, Krishna is talking about Brahman, but then Prabhupada explains beyond this Brahman is that Supreme Lord. And then all the features of this Brahman, which is Amrata. Amrata means imperishable. Brahman is imperishable. Avyaya, it is immortal. It is Shashvata, it is eternal. So these are the features of Brahman. But then Prabhupada explains, when somebody is situated in the devotional service, somebody take the shelter of Krishna, you get attached to Krishna, then all these things will automatically, you will achieve. That eternity, imperishability and eternity, everything will be automatically taken care, even in the Premananda. Okay, so these are the few thoughts on this verse. Let me pause here and see if anybody has any quick question or any comment on what we discussed or anything somebody wants to ask or share. Okay, so there's no questions. Then we'll practice chanting one round of Hare Krishna mantra. Anybody is coming first time? Okay, so there's some people, those who are coming first time. So welcome to the Krishna Balaram temple. We have this program every Sunday afternoon, start at 12 o'clock. And we have the discourse followed by the Aarti. Now soon we'll be starting beautiful Aarti, Kirtans, and we serve the Prasadam. And apart from that,